I just watched Arcane and now I'm hexed by how good it was. You get it? But seriously, the art style in this show is absolutely stunning. It is so unique and expressive, and I want to incorporate some of those elements into my own work. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I've learned so far from studying Arcane's art style and how you can apply some of these techniques to your own artworks. So in this study, I'm gonna separate this in three categories: concept, arcane rendering, and demonstration. There are three concepts I want you to learn first. I noticed the planes of the face in Arcane are very noticeable or distinct. There is a lot of angular shapes like triangles, squares, and even the circles are not completely circle. And this kind of angular style really resembles the Asaro head. So what is Asaro head? It is basically a simplified 3D representation of the plane of the face. Second is Arcane has a strong angular shape language. Last but not least, Arcane uses both hard and soft edges. They also often combine the two. I think this technique is one of the key factors behind its distinctive painterly look. I've divided this into 5 sections, and I'll show you how I approach them based on what I learned while studying Arcane. The hair in Arcane is heavily defined by strong shapes. You could think of it as a collection of individual hair strands grouped together into one unified shape. There is a simple trick that I use to make creating hair easier, and that is the ribbon method. Ribbon method is basically when you think of hair as ribbons when drawing it. This is also very helpful because by simplifying its shapes, you can know where to put the shadows and lighter part of the hair, the highlights, etc. I'm gonna use this reference to quickly demonstrate how it works. First, let's identify the big shapes on our reference. Next, let's apply the ribbon technique. In our reference, when I break it down, I see 11 ribbons. In my style, it's okay if I don't replicate it perfectly. What matters is that it's still recognizable as hair. For the rendering part, this is my tip for you. I found out that the best way to get the hair right is to focus first on getting the right color values and the shape language for each ribbon. You get this right, I think you are already 80% done. What I'm going to do next is basically just identifying where I should put the shadows, highlights, occlusion, etc. As you can see, by focusing on values and basic shape, the results are almost refined enough to stand on their own. But of course, you won't stop here. So the next thing we are going to do is textures. There's a trick I discovered, I guess. In order to kind of achieve this look, all you have to do is select a soft edge round brush, extend it just like so, select the other color and chip it back in. Then select the first color again and chip it back in. I basically do the same thing repeatedly. See that? I only do a few strokes and finish. So after that, it is time for smaller details. Now in this stage, you can go crazy, but for me, I'm just gonna add maybe some hair strands, add more darker shadows, etc. So there is the hair. Now let's move on to the eyes. There are 6 things you need to remember when doing eyes. If you remember concept number 2 where I told you that Arcane often uses a strong shape language, that applies heavily on the eyebrows and eyelashes. If you can see, the eyebrows are just one big shape. The side of the nose bridge extending to the corner of the eye socket are always emphasized by a dark shadow. Also, you need to remember that this side is always a soft edge and this side is hard edge. There is a lighter shadow between the two eyebrows. Lower and upper eyelids are always accentuated by darkening them further. Strong highlights in the corner of the eyes. Last but not least, highlights. Now I noticed the pattern on highlights is like this. There is one highlight at the top and two at the bottom. This is optional, but you can add more smaller details if you want. For me, this is enough. Now let's move on to the nose. There are three things that I noticed. First one is the shadow beneath the nose is highly pronounced. There is a line art on the side of the nose. Last but not least, there's a shadow on the side of the nose ridge. And also, do not forget to blend the sides. Then again, this is optional. In this stage, you can now add more smaller details. There is our nose. Let's move on to the mouth and chin. This part is very easy because the mouth and chin are strongly inspired by the Asara's mouth and chin structure. Take a look at this. Ooh, that is the same thing, man. As you can see, guys, that I'm still doing the concept number 2, which is to focus first on the bigger shape. So even though you change the size of the lips, you would be fine as long as you still follow the Asara head structure. I noticed this distinct feature on the chin area of most of the character in Arcane. So our rule number 2 is to put a darker shadow below the lips. The next step is optional, but we can add more details like darker shadows, some highlights on the chin, on the lips, etc. So there's our mouth and chin. Let's move on to the face. As for the face, just follow the Asara head. Here's a side-by-side view of my work and the Asara head reference I used for guidance. For the demonstration, I'm going to transform my avatar into Arcane art style.
Me. Yes, you!
First things first, I'm gonna start with the sketch, and since Arcane art style is new to me, it also affects how I do my sketching. So, by the power of editing, here's the final sketch. The next thing we are going to do is color blocking. Again, I don't overcomplicate every little details at this point. Next, I add the shadows using a multiply layer. This allows me to apply shadows of both face and clothes simultaneously. Just adding more flat shadows like the lips, the eyes. Just a quick reminder, guys, that you don't have to do hair, eyes, nose, mouth in the exact order I discussed them. Sometimes I go with eyes, then nose, then eyes again, then mouth, then eyes. As long as you apply what we have discussed, then the order doesn't really matter. For the nose, apply a darker shadow beneath it, as well as some shading along the side of the nose ridge. Don't forget the shadow between the eyebrows. Let's put that line art on the nose. Again, for the mouth and chin area, don't forget to add that shadow beneath the lips. It's one of the Arcane signature styles. Now let's return to the eyes and add those eye corner highlights. Let's add some shadow on the upper and lower eyelids. Alright, this is what we have created so far, and something is wrong. Oh, the lips are not yet rendered. I'm like, huh? Let's add the highlights on the eye. As for the hair, as long as you do the ribbon method, you will automatically have an idea where to put the shadows, occlusion, and highlights. I'm just gonna do the texture real quick. Now that we've completed the main elements, it's time to focus on the smaller details. At this stage, it's up to you how much extra detail you want to add. So I'm just gonna add some details and show you the final piece soon. There it is, the final result of this study. What do you think? I think it's alright. I mean, I don't expect myself to be on the same level as the art gods on Fortiche, so this is my best attempt for now. I hope you learned something new, and let me know in the comments down below which artist you want me to study next. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, then feel free to subscribe. See you on the next one. Bye!